my life before we met, Pam, was pretty sad. The doctors that I was speaking to, they were telling me that, life with MS was a downhill trajectory, and that, at some point in time, maybe a walker or wheelchair. And I was only 28 when I had the diagnosis. So that was really difficult to hear. And I just lived every day wondering when the next ball was going to drop, when the next shoe was going to drop. And it didn't feel good. And, at the time I was working as a nurse in the emergency room, and I would go to work in the emergency room. It'd be a 12-hour shift. And there is absolutely no way I could have made any plans before. Usually after a 12-hour, I would lay low, rest on the couch, recover. And there was no making plans with anybody. In fact, I lost a lot of people in my life because they would get tired of inviting me places, because I could never commit to anything because I didn't know how I was going to feel day to day. And they just got tired asking, because the answer was always no. And in that, I suffered from, I wasn't ever medicated for depression, but I knew I was feeling it. I knew I was in a really low place. I was feeling isolated, and just very sad for myself because I was feeling so unwell. And I was in my 20s. It shouldn't have been that way for me. And it just felt so unfair. I was suffering from a lot of cognitive challenges, and that just got in the way of me doing the work that I need to be doing. So life wasn't good. I remember coming home one night to an empty house. My husband was working, and after work, I just collapsed to my knees and I prayed God for an answer. In fact, I said to him, God, either you take me out of this world or you help me to heal. And it was probably my lowest point. And then that very next day on my Facebook feed, I saw the Live Disease Free program and Pam Bartha, you. And I took that as an answer to prayer. And I shared it with my family. I let them know that this was something that I wanted to be involved in. And it was completely out of context for me. Like, I have been trained in conventional medicine, and what you were proposing was completely unusual to me. It was nothing I had ever heard of, but I just knew that I needed something different, because what I was currently doing was not working out the way I needed it to. It's been 6 years since you and I first met and I took your program, but the biggest things were the cognitive challenges. I wasn't able to really problem solve. My verbal fluency was not great. To have a conversation was exhausting. My memory was very poor. It was very hard to do the work that I did. I remember having a cognitive assessment. They call it a neurocognitive assessment, and it was an all-day test. And they measured me on all different kinds of cognitive performances. So executive functioning, decision making, verbal fluency, visual spatial learning, all of those things. And I scored below average on all of those. And so that was a pretty sad day, but it was also confirming, like, I'm not going crazy. I'm actually struggling mentally. And then coincidentally, I had started your program, and it was about 6 weeks. I remember that they had me back for another test. It might've been longer than that, but in any case, I had been in your program for at least a month. And I went back for follow-up, and I had the same battery of tests done. And I was surprised. Actually not, because I knew I was doing better, but to have that quantitative was so very confirming. I scored above average in all of those measures. And so that was an amazing day for me, and for you, I imagine, when I shared that with you. But, I struggled, back to your original question, I struggled with my cognition. Fatigue was crippling. I had pain in my legs, actually all over my body. It was very difficult to get to sleep. Spasticity in the backs of my legs and my buttocks, bladder and bowel disturbance. My gut was completely out of balance. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I wasn't able to put on any kind of weight. It's just I'm trying to think what else. Dry eyes, dry mouth. Every day was a struggle. And my husband and I, we had always dreamed of building a house and, carrying on with life. We were young, we were newly married, and yet the MS was getting in the way. We couldn't plan because we didn't, like I said, we didn't know when the next shoe was going to drop. And so we kept putting off building a home together. We were renting and just kind of stagnant in life. And so when I did recover, it opened all these doors for us. Your masterclass explained things to me about my illness that couldn't ever been explained to me before. No one had ever presented those concepts to me in the ways that you had. And so when I listened to you, I had aha moments throughout the entire masterclass. I'm like, wow, that totally makes sense. And no one had ever described it to me like that before. And so because of that, I needed to take that leap of faith. Without those aha moments, I don't think that I could have, but it just, there was so much truth in what you were saying, and it all made very much sense to me. And so that's why I took, we'll call it a leap of faith, but it was more than that, because like I keep saying, everything you had to say made sense, made perfect sense. And it had never been explained to me that way before. That's why I chose to make the decision to join the Live Disease Free program. And so when I did recover, it opened all these doors for us. We started to make plans for our life. So we decided that it was time to build our house, and we weren't concerned that I wouldn't have an income because I was doing so much better and back to work and vibrant and feeling well, that wasn't a concern anymore. So we just naturally started living our lives again. So a lot has happened. We've been in our new house for, I guess, 5 years now. And that was our first dream come true after getting well, something we never thought that would be there for us. So when I healed from the symptoms of MS and I was feeling so good, I was working out and eating well and doing all the things, Pam. We were surprised to find out that we couldn't get pregnant. And so I went back to conventional treatments and investigations to see what might be the root cause of the issue for my husband and I. And they couldn't pinpoint anything at all. And I knew it couldn't be true. I mean, I was feeling well. My husband was well. There was no reason for us not to be able to conceive. And then you introduced me to ozone therapy. And that's when I took a deep dive into what ozone therapy could do. And I took another leap of faith and purchased some home equipment. And after 6 weeks of applying ozone therapy to my body, my cycle regulated. I went from 45 days to 28 days on the nose. And that very month, I got pregnant with my first daughter. After about 2-3 weeks of implementing well, and at first it's all about changing your diet. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, it felt like a literal curtain was lifted off of me, and I was thinking more clearly. I had more energy, my was more vibrant, and I could see the world in a different way. If anyone's ever experienced brain fog, they know exactly what I'm saying. You just feel like you're walking around in a daze or under a dark cloud, and that veil was just lifted right off of me. And so that was so encouraging to me that I was on the right path, because that was so crippling for me. That was one of my biggest symptoms. Targeting the inflammation through diet and lifestyle change, I was able to get rid of the pain that helped improve my sleep. And so those were the biggest things. And I started your program on the 23rd of September in 2016. And I remember we drove a couple hours to get to one of my good friends' weddings, and that was on October 2nd. So I remember this all very well. So from September 23rd to October 2nd, which is a matter of weeks, I was hitting up that dance floor like nobody expected. I had all kinds of energy. I was mentally clear. I was full of joy because I never thought it possible that I would feel so well again. And so those are two very important dates to me, because of the change that I felt. It was truly remarkable, the difference that I felt. Of course, you know, the weeks thereafter, I just kept getting better and better. So my bladder issues resolved, and different sensory changes were occurring. Those skills have carried me through the past 6 years, through 2 pregnancies. Like, I don't have the MS fatigue. I have the day-to-day, I'm a mother of 2 toddlers fatigue, but nothing like I was experiencing. I don't have any bladder issues whatsoever. And after taking your program, I remember very early into implementing, I was able to start making plans with people, and I was able to say yes and be confident, letting people know a week, even just days in advance, that yes, I can commit to that, because my health, I just kept waking up every day feeling good. And as surprising as it was, it just felt so good to be able to say yes to people. And so good to feel like I was actually getting my life back and able to do all the things that I wanted to do. The tools and the knowledge that I've learned through the Live Disease Free program has helped me tremendously. Like, it's absolutely changed my life. And I don't have to worry about what's to come or that next shoe dropping, because I know what I need to do to keep and stay well. As a mom, it's changed how I approach everything with my children, what goes into their bodies, what I expose them to. And I know that that's going to have a huge impact on them as they develop. And it would help my kids in ways of prevention, which isn't something that we always think about or teach in conventional practice. But to prevent something from happening, I believe is the way forward. And I think that it's becoming more mainstream. But just to have those tools now and be able to implement them into my children's lives, I think it will have a tremendous impact on their health throughout their lives. So I'm so entirely grateful for what I've learned through your program. It's absolutely priceless what a person can learn, and not just to help themselves, but to help the people they love. And with that, I will add that I have gone on to support my patients in a different way. And I've just recently opened up an ozone therapy center so that people can come and receive the blessing of ozone therapy just as I had received it. And I'm happy to be able to provide that service to people.